Good evening, my beautiful friends. It's so good to see you. I am Suzanna Kaye with Spark Organizing, and tonight is a bit of a special Facebook Live because it's really only half live. So I will admit I have been traveling and I did not want to miss my appointment with you this evening and some of our gifts and tips. So I wanted to record this ahead of time for you. Now I will be live because I will probably be in the car on the way home from the airport during the Facebook Live post tonight. So feel free to comment because I will be watching the comments and I will type my answers right back to you. And if it needs a longer answer, I will include it in next week's tips. So please comment away, and I hope that you enjoy this evening's video for our Tuesday night Facebook Live. We're back in the kids' room. I'll see you there. Good evening, beautiful friends. It's so good to see you again for another Tuesday night Organized Home Series Facebook Live. I am Suzanna Kaye. I'm the owner of Spark Organizing. I am a professional organizer as well as a professional speaker, and I have an entire team of organizers throughout Central Florida that I manage, as well as I enjoy teaching other people about organizing and productivity. So that's the purpose of these Facebook Live broadcasts. I just like to share knowledge so that you can take this information into your own home or workplace. Again, I am Suzanna Kaye, and this is our Tuesday at 8 p.m. home series. We also do have Thursdays at 11 a.m. our productivity Facebook Live posts. I hope you can join me for those as well. But as I promised last week, this whole month of October is organizing kids' rooms, and tonight we're talking about creative storage for your child's room. We are once again going to borrow my stepdaughter Kayla's room in order to show you a few things happening in her room that we've set up for her. So let's go check it out. Now, Kayla is a very creative type. She loves to do art projects and engineering items, creating things, and she's also got a huge heart. So having memories of people around her is really important to her as well. So we've set up a few things in her room to help that part of her personality come out and to really show who she is. She is 7 at this moment, not for too much longer, and you can see that it's set up like a 7-year-old's room. It's pretty fun. I'm a little jealous of her room. Last week we talked about the organizing bins and how we use those, but this week a couple of the items will start in her closet. A few items that we use. We have our over-the-door shoe organizer. Now this is something that she can access, and she makes her own decisions about what goes where, and it's easy for her to do that. We've taught her the concept of grouping like things together, but in order to avoid labels, we have clear pockets. So this one has simply clear pockets, no labels on it whatsoever, because you can see through it to see what's inside. And she has chosen some of her own storage categories, and I have talked about some of the concepts with her to assist her, but she has headbands, and she's got hard headbands here, and she's got things like lip gloss. These are all of her really gross things, like her slimes. Her slimes are all in there, which she loves. Some of her most important things to her, her little fake cell phone and her long fingernail thing that she got from a roller skating rink, I think. Some of her hand sanitizers and lip glosses and hand lotions, and then a number of her cards that she has sorted into, for some reason this makes sense to her. She has certain categories going on with each of these animal cards that she's very specific about. So we let her be specific about that and come up with those categories on her own. And you'll notice that it only goes up to about here that she can reach. She will grow into some of these other parts. Until then, what I have used them, I use some of these temporarily up top for myself when we buy her clothes, for example, and it might be something we might need to return. A lot of times I'll keep the tags and receipts in one of these pockets until we're sure that they fit her and that we're not going to be returning them. That's one of the uses. And every once in a while we have another use, maybe tickets for an event that we are planning to go to as a family, things like that. Those pockets are handy for me, and as she grows into them more, I will be losing that access, and that is totally fair. The other thing that we have in her closet that is highly useful, you'll see up here, this box. She grows so fast, and sometimes we get clothes that aren't quite the right size for her, whether they were hand-me-downs from somebody that we know, or we just happen to find a great deal on a size that she's not quite into yet, but we know that she will still love them. They are still going to be seasonally appropriate, which in Florida, it's not hard to be seasonally appropriate while she's that age. But we go ahead and we put them up here. And then what I do is I grab painter's tape. And on painter's tape on the front of the bin, I will mark what sizes are in there so that I know exactly when I should be opening this bin again. If you have a lot of hand-me-downs, or if you've got a very tiny baby who goes through sizes very quickly and you probably received a lot of gifts of clothes, then you might want separate bins for each size. When you've got such a large amount, that's usually helpful. So one size would be 0 to 6 months, one bin would be 6 to 12 months, and you separate it like that. We don't tend to have a whole lot of hand-me-downs or other sizes, so our one bin is sufficient for us, but I do need to have that painter's tape on the front so that I can visually see exactly what size is in there so we don't miss out altogether. We actually just pulled out a bunch of new size things for her from there just the other day. It's been really quick that she's gone straight through some sizes, major growth spurt. But it was nice because I could finally open that bin up, pull those out, and that's when I pulled off the painter's tape because those sizes are now out of there. So that's how we handle some of those other size things, and it's nice having the bin up there. One other thing actually while I'm up here that you probably can't see, and the goal is that you should not be able to see it. Up on top of the bin, pushed towards the back, are some wait and see items. That's where I keep some of the artwork that maybe I know that she's grown out of or is not that interested in, and I want to see if she even remembers that she has it before we just throw it away. If it's something I'm not too sure, before it gets tossed, it goes up there. For the most part, we have her make those decisions, but there are always times where we come across something we're like, yeah, this is time. And also some toys. There are some random toys that go up there just to see if she's even still playing with them, still notices that they're even gone. And that way, if she asks for them, they're not gone and I can pull them out. But if she's not asked for them before I pull out that next size, then they hit the trash or donate if they're still good. So the wait and see area, or some people can have a full wait and see bin. If you have a lot of toys, then that's really useful. A few other things that we've done in her room in order to give her a little extra storage. I touched on this a little bit last week. We have her memorabilia shelf, which has all of her most important things, including her little handmade laptop that she made. So some of her memorabilia goes here. And next week we'll be talking a lot more about how to deal with kids and memorabilia, because it's just, some kids just have this need to keep everything. Thankfully, Kayla's not too much that way, but we have been teaching her how to make those decisions. So next week we'll talk a bit about memorabilia. But on her wall, as part of her visual memorabilia, you can see there are a few things going on here. First off, at the bottom here, we have some of her things that she's recently done. All this is a piece of ribbon and some command strips. And then I grabbed some little hanging hooks that can move back and forth along the ribbon. This way she can easily hang whatever her current thing is that she wants to show off. So in this case, she did a picture. She drew the picture from a Ranger Rick magazine. So she wanted to be able to reference the Ranger Rick magazine along with the picture. And she wrote a little note about that she's going to second grade because she was excited, and she made a sword. So these are the things that she chooses to hang up in her room on this ribbon. The only rule is that it has to fit on the ribbon. It can't start oozing onto the walls or be completely uncaptured. If it's memorabilia, there's the memorabilia bin. If it's one of her craft projects, then it goes there. These are just for the show-off wall. And then above it we have family photos. And the fun thing about this is, since these days we do so much smartphone, I just print these up with one of those free apps. I think it's called Free Photos or Free Prints. It's just an app where you can print directly from the photos on your phone and have it mailed to your house, and it's not very expensive. So what I do is every once in a while I will go through some of our past events and I'll print up some of the photos from those events and we'll put them on this board. Either we'll put it on there to surprise her if it's something that we know that she loves, or we'll give her some photos that she can choose from, and she can change out some photos on this photo wall. So that makes it a really fun thing, and then she sees some of her favorite people are on the wall. And then the last thing that we have here, this is a little bit of crossover into the memorabilia. But since we travel so much, both Jeff, my husband, and I travel, and he travels more than I do. Instead of bringing back souvenirs from each place, which would mean a whole lot of chocolates and stuffed toys and things that she does not need and that would junk up her room, it would not really mean that much to her because she does not understand exactly the concept of different cities and what makes them different. So a teddy bear from a different city is about the same for her as the teddy bear from the mall. She's got no clue. So we started by giving each other postcards as memorabilia when we come back from a trip. And we started incorporating that for her as well, because they are very easy to store because they're so small, but you also get the great added benefit of you can write a date and you can write a message and what made it special or what thoughts went through your head or just that you were thinking of them. So having postcards, and we just hole punched them into a flip book with some little binder rings. So she has these postcards that she knows that whenever Daddy was out of town, that he was thinking of her. And as this grows, and now that she can read better, she can flip through and just see all the times that Daddy or I wrote her a little message because we were out of town and we thought of her. So it just hangs on a command clip right on her wall. And she can flip through that anytime. So those are some of the ways that we've created some storage for her in her room. And aside from that, we also just tried to make the room fun for her. So we added the fun things like the butterflies on the wall right there. And we also enjoy doing things that are educational but that she loves. She has a love for stars and seeing stars at night. And I don't know that it'll show up because the light has not been on in here all day. But on the ceiling, we have some constellations. And we used that removable vinyl. And in between each glow-in-the-dark star, I don't know if you can really see it, but in between each glow-in-the-dark star, there is, try to get close, there's a little line. And these correspond to a constellation book that we have for her. So at night she can sit and she can look at the stars and just think about the fact that, you know, there are certain times where we have gone as a family out to look at stars, and it's just one of her favorite things. So creating a space that's really nourishing for who she is important to us. We don't want it to be perfect. The goal is not for the room to be immaculate at all times. Usually there are craft projects sitting on her bookshelf that she's in process, or maybe she's made a million different pieces for feeding her stuffed animals and bathing them. She'll make out of paper different things like little food bowls out of paper and toothbrush out of paper, and that will be laying out on certain areas. So we give her defined areas that she can leave things out and make her own, and we try not to get too on her about it, but we do still try to teach a good balance of caring for your things in your space, simply because if you care for yourself, then your space around you should reflect that. And it's a tough concept, you know. She asks, you know, why do I have to make my bed? It's just going to get unmade the next day. And then we talk about the fact that when you care for your things and the space that you're in, then that's taking care of yourself well. So there's some different things that you can teach them within these organizing moments. And as she gets older, she starts to understand them a little better each time. And we give her some control in her room. And I think that's important as she gets older, that she should have some control. There will probably be a day where she's a teenager where the only rule is the 2 feet in front of the door have to be clear so we can shut it. And we should not have to call the health department due to the garbage in your room. And that might be her only 2 rules for a while, because independence is important. And she's starting to gain more and more independence in her room as she gets older. So I hope that these gave you a couple of ideas for your kids' room, whether they are young, or the shoe organizer and the ribbon on command strips with little clips. Those are great for any age, and I've actually used those for myself. So they're definitely good for any age. And I hope that you enjoyed this evening's broadcast. Join me next week, because we will be back next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time yet again. You can ask questions live, you can comment, and I hope that you really enjoy it. Next week we will talk a bit more about memorabilia, how we corral it, and how we honor it. As a family, we have some traditions that we've set up around it in order to help her make her own choices and not keep absolutely everything. I hope to see you next week. Please feel free to stop by the website if you want to find out more about us or more about some of the services we offer, including all of our various blog articles that are free. We have the free Facebook Lives, and I will see you there at sparkorganizing.com. Have a beautiful week. I love you so much, and I'll see you soon.